This content is being brought to you by the Bourbon Real Talk American Whiskey Aroma Kit. This is a tool that I put together to help all you whiskey aficionados out there develop your palates. You can sit down with the vials and train your senses, or you can sit down with a great dram and break that whiskey down to its components. If you have any interest of purchasing a kit of your own, head on over to bourbonrealtalk.com/shop and pick one up. Thank you for listening. Hello, everybody out there in Bourbon Real Talk land. Randy Sullivan coming to you today from a unique location of recording. I am at MGPI in Indiana, and I know normally I'm doing stuff in Texas because that's where I'm from, but we're up here doing a single barrel selection, and we actually did 2 single barrel selections. Very excited. We'll have more information about that coming out soon. But while I was up here, I thought I'd sit down with one of the master blenders who probably creates a lot of the whiskey that you drink, whether you know you're drinking whiskey she helped create or not. And that's very exciting for me. So welcome, Pam. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
So Pam is a little bit nervous, so we're going to go easy on her today, and we're going to talk about the transition she's had to go through as MGPI has decided to release some of their own brands. But as always, we're going to drink some whiskey, and often we find that helps with the nerves a little bit.
Okay.
All right. So what did you have poured for us here today?
This is a 2005. It's a 21% rye bourbon, so 51% corn, but we have 21% rye small grain.
And was this pulled from a barrel for this?
Not just for today, but yeah, we did pull it from a barrel.
Oh, man.
Isn't that nice?
Oh, it's very nice.
Lots of
vanilla, caramel notes.
Yep.
Toffee.
Fruit. Some fruit in there.
Yeah, but I'm getting like a general fruity note. I'm not sure there's anything specific jumping out on the nose, but I have been tasting strawberry in a lot of your bourbon whiskeys lately.
I heard that. I heard that comment earlier today, and it was surprising to me. But
yeah, well, I made that sensory kit I was telling you about, and I don't detect red fruit in a lot of bourbons, and so I was playing with the Volstead. And I'm just kind of going through, and I'm like, there's a fruit in here, but I can't figure out what it was. And sometimes I'll get a tropical fruit on y'all's product, so I'll get like a pineapple or guava mango in that direction.
Right.
And I got to strawberry, and I said, I think this is closer to strawberry. It's subjective. All right, let's taste it up. Wow. Yeah, I mean, just vanilla for days.
Yes, it is. It's very vanilla.
Very vanilla forward.
Yeah,
that's
some
beautiful.
Caramel. Maybe a little toffee. Almost a little toffee.
Yeah. But it's not overly smoky, which to me, if it's caramel forward, but it's smoky, then I start to think toffee. But it's beautiful. And I would think that the fruit on this would be more...
It's like it's almost raisiny to me.
Yeah, there's a little raisin component. Very good. Well, thank you for sharing. So
you are welcome.
That would make this about 15 years, somewhere in that vicinity. That's awesome. You have a very unique history in the bourbon industry that I thought would be fun to, kind of get the word out and share that. But before we get to that, a lot of our listeners like to hear about industry experts like transition into alcohol, right?
Okay.
So what were some of your early experiences with alcohol? And how did you lead into getting so interested that you made a career of it?
Actually, I was looking for a job, and I stopped here and applied for a job, and I got the job. I actually started working in the accounting office.
Okay.
Yeah, and there was an opening in the quality department, and I thought, well, that sounds really interesting. That sounds like a fun job. So I applied, and I got the job, and I stayed there. I've been in quality ever since. I'll be here 40 years this March, excuse me.
Did y'all hear that?
40 years.
She's worked here for 40 years.
Yeah. Time sure flies.
When you're having fun.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I just have worked my way up over the years. I've had a lot of good mentors here, and 40 years has flown by.
So, is there anyone that's worked here longer than you?
There are a couple people still here.
Yeah. A couple people? Yeah. Okay. But that's still pretty impressive with the large number of people who are employed here. I mean, that's impressive at all these days. No one stays at one place for 40 years.
Absolutely.
That is so awesome. And so was that like your first real professional job was here?
Yes.
And it's because I like to ask, like, what was your transition? Like, how did you lead into this?
I actually worked as a cashier at a grocery store. I worked in an insurance office just for very short times, but I was pretty young when I came here, so.
Wow. Yeah. Wow, so you've seen a lot of life in this place.
I have.
And a lot of transitions in this place, too.
Yes. A lot of good people come and go, and yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the history of the distillery, because this distillery has a very rich history that reaches back deep into the 1800s. So when did whiskey production start in this area?
They've been producing whiskey on this site for a long time.
For a long time.
1847.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and back then it was, well, at some point there was some consolidation, but it was Rossville, right?
Right. Rossville Distillery.
They were actually producing some spirits during Prohibition, right?
Right.
This is one of the few locations that's still in production that actually operated continuously, even through Prohibition.
Right. Yes.
Wow, that's amazing. But post-Prohibition, that company was bought by Seagrams, right?
Right. Sam Brofman, they had distilleries in Canada, and he came down and bought this distillery and added a lot of the warehouses around us, and the distillery itself was beefed up, and yeah.
Wow. So I noticed a lot of the buildings around here don't say 1847.
Right.
They say 1857.
1857 is the founding of the Seagrams facility. So they started up in Canada, and so that is when Seagrams was created.
So when they purchased the Rossville Distillery and they started building buildings, they kind of ignored that Rossville had been operating for 10 years. And then they also owned what's now Four Roses then, right?
Correct. That started out as Old Prentice, and then the name was changed to Four Roses. But yes, they owned both facilities.
Because one of the things that I found was fascinating was that, there's a lot of Four Roses fans out there. And I've heard Jim Rutledge say that when he first started there, he was trying to get their quality back up to standard. And I want to say it was Brett Elliott, he was sending him up to here to bring samples of their new distillate, and the quality team was tasting it and rating it, and they were trying to get things back up, because at one point Seagrams was thinking about closing down the Four Roses plant. But you were part of the quality team at that time that was happening, right?
Yeah.
You've been here for 40 years.
Yeah. I worked in the department. I don't remember Brent Elliott coming up, but probably some
No, he said that someone met in the middle someplace, and they would pass off samples, and then,
I do remember Al Young, who just recently passed away. He was actually working here in Lawrenceburg when I first started. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, and then went to Four Roses, and they both built the place up. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. So a lot of rich history here.
In 2001 is when Seagram sold, and through all the divestitures, this facility ended up, it was owned by Pernod Ricard. So from 2000 to mid-2007, it was a Pernod Ricard facility. And interestingly enough, Pernod Ricard also owned Wild Turkey.
Okay.
Yeah, before it was sold to Campari.
You've seen a lot of transition here.
Yes.
How many times in your career did you think you might just lose your job? This is it.
Actually, when Pernod sold the facility, I thought this was it.
Right.
Yeah, I really did. I really felt like the whole place was going to close down and just sit here idle. And it was a terrible feeling. I remember walking out, it was kind of like the last week, and people were filing out, and I just thought, wow, this is it.
This is it.
Yeah.
1847, and here we go.
Yeah.
This is the end.
This is the end. It's over. But thankfully, that didn't happen.
Wow.
And I was able to stay.
Well, thank God. Think about all the great things that have happened since then. None of that would have happened, so thank God there was a path. Currently, you're not owned by Pernod Ricard, right? So
No, when Pernod sold in 2007, then CL Financial took over for a while, and then in 2011 we were purchased by MGP.
And MGP does other food product type things, but not at this facility, right?
Right. Corporate headquarters is in Atchison, Kansas, and they have a distillery there, and then the ingredients operation.
So what all do you make here?
We make GNS or vodka, whiskeys, and gins.
Gins, Awesome. The reason why my hair looks tousled is because they don't have public tours here. So if you love MGP and you're like, hey, next time I'm in the area, I'm gonna go by.
Yeah.
You can take pictures outside of the buildings,
right.
But that's about it. You guys have traditionally either contract distilled or, sold finished product to other, brands that are non-distiller producers. So you're not really set up for tours and things like that here, right?
No, as you saw today, it's a massive distillery, and it's not...
Massive,
yeah. It's not conducive to just having people walk around.
Sure.
Yeah.
The reason why my hair's messed up is because we went on the hard hat. You literally have to wear a hard hat.
Yeah.
Which, for any of the corporate people out there, there's no reason for that. There's nothing falling. And by the way, if a barrel fell on you, that's not going to help you. It's 600 pounds. It's just going to crush you. So, but no, we walked around, and the facility is massive. But most of these buildings were built in the 1930s.
That's correct.
So, there's stairways are narrow and, all of that stuff.
A lot of grading.
A lot
of stairs. That's the big thing. There's a lot of steps for someone that wouldn't be able to do that.
Sure, yeah, definitely not ADA compliant with the 1930s building. But yeah, that's why my hair's messed up, because I have my hard hat on, trying to be safe, follow all the rules.
That's right. You have to follow the rules.
You have to have the earplugs in and all
Mm-hmm.
that. We saw some great stuff today. We saw a lot of stuff we were not allowed to take pictures of, which those are my favorite parts of the tour. Because David Whitmer toured us around, and I've done a podcast with him before, and so he's tearing us around, and he's like, you can't take pictures here. And you could tell he felt bad having to keep telling us we can't do things, And I was like, no, it's making it awesome. Like, this is going to be our favorite part. You all had, in the past, had a big focus on contract distilling and selling to non-distiller producers. But there's been a shift relatively recently, right?
Yes.
And what's that been?
Started our own brands.
And what are those?
We have George Remus Bourbon. We have Remus Repeal Reserve, which is sitting here.
Mm-hmm.
2 Rossville Ryes. We have Tanner's Creek, 8 and Sand, and Till Vodka is made in Atchison, Kansas.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
You mentioned one. What's the creek one?
Tanner's Creek.
Tanner's Creek.
Mm-hmm.
And so the reason why you heard that word and you went, wait, what? I've not heard of that, is because it's only sold here.
In Indiana.
In Indiana.
Yes.
But it's a similar product to 8 and Sands.
It is. It's similar. It's a blended whiskey. It's 4 of our legacy mash bills that we've made here for a long time. And it's a blended whiskey, but it's not, there's no adulterants. No adulterants, yes. It's just pure whiskey.
It's got a little bit of high-age light whiskey in it. So
yes.
it can't be called a bourbon or whatever. It has to be a blend because it has light whiskey in it.
Right.
But if it's the pricing, and this is my personal opinion, the pricing is phenomenal for what you're getting.
Absolutely.
And the great thing is that MGP, well, whatever they were 15 years ago, they were making light whiskeys. They've been aging them ever since. And now there's not as huge of a market for that. But that whiskey has been pulling really great barrel flavors out of that barrel. So when you use it in a blend, it's really adding a lot of complexity, I feel like.
Right.
As a master blender, did you have anything to do with making that decision about, what was going to go into that product?
Yeah. They told us, what we were going to do, and so we were able to pull, the staff I have here, we were able to pull the barrels and blend them up. And as far as the light whiskey goes, it was traditionally, this distillery was traditionally built to make product for Seven Crown. So back when Seven Crown was a whiskey,
right,
and not a blended whiskey. So we've always made light whiskey at this facility.
Right,
it's one of
right.
the legacy mash bills.
So it was a blending component for Seven Crown.
Right.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I think I heard that before. So that makes a lot of sense. So I actually have had the opportunity to try a single barrel selection of one of the higher age light whiskeys that were made here. I don't think it was sold through your facility, but someone that had a DSP bought it, and then they sold it as a single barrel to some club, and it was phenomenal.
It ages very well. It's a good product once it gets a lot of age on it.
Yeah, and it pulls other compounds out of the barrel than regular whiskey because it's got a little bit higher alcohol content and all that stuff. I don't know. I find it super fascinating, so I like it quite a bit. That must have signaled a huge transition in kind of focus around here, because when you have a shift of focus from other businesses, so you're doing business to business transactions, and then you go from B to B to B to C, and now you're serving consumers, was that something that was a little bit nerve-wracking for you?
Not really, because I know we have great product. We have great liquid to work with, so it was just lining out the blend and what was required. But as far as when you have great product, it's pretty easy to make a good blend.
Good blend. Yeah. You were a little bit shy in these types of public situations, and nowadays the master blender and the master distiller are celebrities in some ways, right?
Yeah.
Does that make you nervous?
Absolutely. Yeah. That's not my thing at all. I love bourbon. I love my job. I love just the whole industry. I love like bourbon women events or the Women Who Whiskey, things like that. But public speaking is definitely not my thing.
Not your thing?
No.
You don't get jazzed about it?
No.
Nothing makes me more excited than a captive audience and a microphone. Right?
I've picked up on that.
And that's not a good thing, people. It's not good. Ask my wife. She'll tell you. You are involved in some of those trade organizations, right? There's Whiskey Women. There's Women Who Whiskey? Is that
Women Who Whiskey, yeah. That's kind of came after the Bourbon Women, and they have quite a few branches now. There's a big branch up in Chicago, and I've been there and did a Masters of Rye presentation with them back in March.
See? Masters of Rye.
Masters of Rye. Nice shirt.
I brought my shirt. If you're out there in the public and you don't know, women traditionally have better palates than men. Like it's just like the way humans are built. But women have not always played the most prominent of roles.
Right.
You are now in a top level position that recognizes your talent for your nosing and tasting ability. Do you feel like there's been a shift in the industry to be more accepting of women in higher end positions?
Yeah, I do. And I feel like a lot of it has come from these groups. So for instance, I keep referring to Bourbon Women. They help young companies and allow women to grow in those companies, and it's brought a bigger spotlight on women in the industry. So yeah.
That's good. I mean, I've heard some tragic stories too of
I'm sure. Yeah.
Of women who were really dedicated to a brand and had really put in the work to work themselves up the ladder and be able to contribute in a larger and larger way, and at some point they just kind of they hit that glass ceiling, and we're told well, we can't have a woman master distiller, we can't have a woman master blender.
Yeah,
I do appreciate that. Especially larger companies now are starting to, put more qualified women, not because they're women,
right,
but more qualified women in those positions. Traditionally, in Scotland, the master blender is kind of the superstar, right?
Right.
And traditionally in the U.S., the master distiller is the superstar. You are a master blender. Who has it right?
Well, I think here for MGP, we have to have a master distiller who makes great product, but then we have to have the master blenders who can take that aged product and put it together and make a great blend.
So it's like a team effort.
It's a team, yeah. We work as a team.
There's not like what we're doing is better.
No.
We contribute more to the final product.
No.
No?
I don't think. It's a shared mission.
Who is responsible for maturation? Is that more on the master distiller team? Who decides how long a barrel's going to age and all that stuff? Or
that's probably more on the master blender.
On the master blender?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because once it goes in the barrel, the quality department here is the one that, is sampling the barrels and keeping an eye on the inventory and how it's aging.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Yeah, and I mean that's crucial because, maturation is something I feel like gets overlooked a lot.
Right.
Because I mean, obviously you have to have good distillate to start with, but maturation has a huge impact. And I think one study said up to 70% of the flavors coming from the barrel. So
right. Yeah.
How you manage that, and you guys have really unique aging environment here.
Right.
You have high humidity here. Your proof tends to go down a barrel and not
yes.
up. You have brick facade warehouses that are extremely insulated, so you don't experience as much temperature swings as others.
Yeah. If you work here long enough and you taste different samples, you can say, oh, I think this came from
right
warehouse A versus warehouse
I'm not that
B.
sophisticated,
yeah.
but I'm sure you can.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you can taste a little difference. Yeah. We have, I don't know, I guess you'd call it your honey spots.
Right,
yeah.
right. Where the honey barrels.
Yeah.
Is this a honey barrel for you by chance?
Yeah, I think it is.
Okay, because I really love it. Like, you guys are missing out, and sorry, you're never going to be able to have this experience.
Never can have this.
Never can have it, no. You got to start a podcast and work your way up in the food chain, people. I don't know what else to tell you. There were non-distiller producers that you're selling finished product to. They're bottling it and marketing it, and the bottle prices are just astronomical. Mm-hmm. Several of them have sold for massive amounts of money.
Right.
And we are unable to confirm or deny which companies those are because you're publicly traded and everybody signs non-disclosure agreements. We know that in the industry that's happened. From your perspective, somebody who helped build those brands, but not directly because you're not working for them, what's it like to see all of that? And do you feel like that influenced the powers that be to decide to start your own brands?
Working here in the early 80s when bourbon wasn't, we had a downturn. And
sure.
We made good product here. And you couldn't sell it in the United States. We could
sell in Japan.
Yeah, but we couldn't sell it in the United States. So being able to have people take our product and make a good product of their own, and then that
build a business.
Yeah. And now we have brands and they're great, and I'm happy to see it. I mean, it was what was missing from this distillery is not having our own brands,
right?
And so it's great. I love it.
I heard in the tour that there was bottling not too far from here, but maybe it's not part of MGP. Is that correct?
Actually, the bottling facility was always part of the distillery, part of this. So when Seagram owned the distillery, when Pernod Ricard owned the distillery, we had the bottling and there's a finished goods warehouse.
Okay.
But when MGP purchased, they just purchased the distillery, and the bottling operation was sold to someone else.
Mm. This glass, for any of you who are watching at home, I've just switched whiskeys. That one is an infinity glass of all 5 of the rye whiskeys that were presented to us for our single barrel. And this one is an infinity glass of all 5 of the Remus bourbons that were presented to us. So I'm scared to death of blending because I'm okay at picking barrels because all I have to do is just go, okay, well, which one tastes the best to me? Boom, I like that one, right? That's not hard to do. You just taste it and you go, hey, which one tastes good? When you're blending, you go, what's wrong with this? And then where in this massive facility can I find the thing that's missing? That scares me. But Nancy encouraged me, Nancy Fraley, that I need to start, experimenting a little bit, even if it's just with little things at home. So I've been trying to blend a little bit at the house so that I can develop a sense of like what's missing. There's no thought put into this. I just take whatever's left over and I throw it in. And I find that often the barrels that are selected for a single barrel are so good that if you throw any ratio of them together, you end up with something that's pretty palatable.
Yeah. I don't know how you could go wrong. This one's good.
And the one that I have is good as well. It is not as good as the single barrel that you selected. Historically, when you guys are helping these other brands, to generate product to sell, there's been some massive sales for hundreds of millions of dollars. There was kind of a run-up of revenue for this company because when you're making whiskey, if you're at home and you don't know this, a lot of the bourbons that would come out of a facility like this that are going to be most popular are 10 plus years old. And the problem is that it's very difficult to predict what demand is going to be 10 years from now.
That is true.
Very difficult. True. The rise in popularity of whiskey, and also in the 80s, 70s and 80s, and even into the 90s, companies were afraid to have too much aging inventory.
Yeah.
Because it could be damaging to them financially. There's this tamper on producing more whiskey than you're going to need, but you want to produce as much as demand is going to require. And everybody ended up getting it wrong, basically.
Pretty much, yeah.
Like literally everyone. Every brand got it wrong. No one has enough high-age stock.
Right.
And since you guys were servicing multiple companies, and other companies are seeing this explosion of growth and going, well, crap, I want to do this too. You had an overwhelming demand on your higher age stock. And at some point, the powers that be realized, okay, it makes more sense for us to build some of our own brands.
Sure.
Right? And so that's where Rossville, Remus, Eight and Sands, and then Tanner's Creek. Everybody wanted me to ask you guys about your stock, but as a publicly traded company, there's very few people in your organization that are authorized to discuss that.
Right.
And also as a master blender, you're like, yeah, I make whiskey.
I do.
So I don't know what you're talking about, but I did just want to address that issue.
No problem.
Do you personally like whiskey?
I love whiskey.
And do you drink whiskey at home?
I do.
What is your favorite product that you help produce?
I would say it's probably the Remus Repeal, the series 1, 2, and 3.
Which breaks my heart because I don't have one.
You don't?
I do not.
Bummer.
I'm sure that I can get somebody to give me a taste of it.
Probably, yeah.
But I have 2 and 3 open at home.
Yeah,
and
actually
Volstead.
3 is my favorite. And I love Volstead. I think it's a great product. It's totally different.
I like 3 more than Volstead. A little. But I am sensitive to the higher age flavors.
Right.
It's 11 and 12-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
The Volstead's 14, I believe.
Right.
There's a little bit of a musty, leathery, earthy kind of flavor that I get on the front end of Volstead. Mm-hmm. And I prefer the 3 just a hair more. And I prefer the 3 over 2 as well, but I haven't tried the 1.
Yeah. Well, the Volstead is a bottled in bond, so it's from one season. 14-year-old, one season, one mash bill, where this is a blend of mash bills. Mm-hmm. So
as a master blender, you fixed all the problems.
Right. Absolutely.
I like that. And so is there a product that you like, that you enjoy at home that is not produced by MGPI?
I do taste them. And I like tasting other bourbons. But if I'm going to drink something, it's going to be ours, not because I can say it's ours, but I've worked here all my life.
Right.
So if this tastes good to me because it's what I'm accustomed to.
You're fully dedicated.
I am I'd say after 40 years, I'm fully dedicated.
One of the things that I've heard a lot of debate about lately is there's a lot of increases in production capacity happening all across the country. Do you anticipate or fear a surplus of stock in the whiskey world?
I think there's going to be some excess because, just like you said, everybody is laying down more bourbon. But I just feel like the popularity of bourbon has become so strong, and I don't see that dying off.
Right.
Yeah, we have a whole new generation that drinks bourbon, and I don't see that dying off. I mean, there's always going to be excess barrels because everyone's making so much right now.
Right.
So, but overall, I think the industry will stay strong.
Will stay strong.
Mm-hmm.
You have been to a couple of public events that probably made you super uncomfortable, where people wanted you to sign, their bottles.
Right.
Are you surprised at the kind of celebrity status of master blenders and distillers?
Yes. I think I tend to take what I do for granted just because I've worked here forever, and I find this enjoyable, fun, and easy.
Right.
Making a blend, and everyone thinks it's a big secret and it's hard to do, and I mean maybe it is. I don't know. I take it for granted.
It seems hard to me.
Not so much.
And so, do you remember the first time somebody asked you for your autograph?
Yes.
And were you like, wait, what?
What? You want me to do what? You want my name on your bottle? Okay.
Was it flattering, or were you just like, I can't do this? This feels
No,
wrong.
it was flattering. Yeah, it was flattering. Yeah. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I have to warn you, I think that there's more of that coming in your future.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, the products that you guys are making are amazing, and they're in super high demand, and so they're gonna send you out and feed you to the wolves, and the public,
I think so.
The public will consume you, and they're gonna want your autograph. So you got to get prepared for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll practice my penmanship.
Yeah, but actually no, like bad signatures are good too.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, it's like, oh, look how unique it is. You know how people like a unique whiskey.
I do.
I'm sure they can appreciate a unique signature.
Right.
It's fine. You don't have to try too hard.
Okay.
If people want more information about MGP and your new brands, where should they go?
Go to the website, mgpingredients.com.
mgpingredients.com, people. You can go there, check it out. And if you want more information about Bourbon Real Talk, you can find us at YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram /Bourbon Real Talk. And if you heard a little excitement in my voice, it's because you do not get to start off with YouTube, your channel being your channel name. Like they give you this random series of letters and numbers, but we have made it. We qualified. And so now our channel is actually our name, Bourbon Real Talk. So that's pretty exciting. You can go to bourbonrealtalk.com. You can also search for us on your favorite podcast player. And if you like this content, and we've got a lot of very exciting things coming up, you should subscribe. You should probably write a review. You should comment and like. And if you woke up this morning and you were unsure whether or not somebody loved you, just know that I love you. And I'll see you next time on Bourbon Real Talk.